Hey everybody, Alex here, Out of the Park 23 Pittsburgh Pirates franchise episode number 8, and we are back here at the end of the 2024 season. I want to apologize for fast forwarding through the entire season and just going straight to the end, but you may have already picked up on why that is, as the Pirates finished the year 60-102. Not only is that terrible, it is the worst record in all of baseball, and so I just really didn't feel like dedicating an extra episode to the middle of this crappy season because it's been bad from start to finish, starting with that heartbreaking opening day loss, and that really seemed to set the tone the rest of the way. And so by a comfortable margin, the Pirates the worst team, Phillies second worst at 66-96. We're not even guaranteed the first pick next year because there's the draft lottery, so hopefully we get it, but who the heck knows. And so everything was bad this year, and let's talk about it briefly. As you can see, the running theme here has been just a lack of offense. We've been 14th or 15th in offensive production in the NL 3 straight years, this entire out of the park sim, and the pitching was not very good this year either. Called up a lot of the young arms, and they've been okay to less than okay, let's say. We'll say our Pythagorean record is 68-94, so we really kind of played below expectations this year. Just really tanked starting in June, but really bottomed out in July, and the last couple months have just been really rough overall. In one-run games, they were 14-26, so that might be some of the quote-unquote bad luck overall. Really bad on the road, a little bit better at home, but nothing here is appealing in terms of the stats. Maybe the home runs allowed, that's about it, but we were just terrible. So we'll go over the stats here briefly. Actually, before we go into the stats, I want to talk about the trades we made. Obviously, we were sellers at the deadline, and so made a lot of moves here. Try to be a little more aggressive. Mike Soroka signed to a one-year deal. Was doing all right with us. Dealt him to the Cleveland Guardians, and in return, also gave up a reliever who is not that great. Just a throw in there. Pittsburgh gets back. Let me actually get to it here. Yourdes Valdez, good-looking defensive shortstop / second baseman. The bat's not going to be that great, but he'll be in the mix as one of our many, many middle infielders with a weak bat and decent defense, but couldn't find a lot for Soroka overall. Let's see, what else do we have here in terms of trades. Andrew Benetende, who wanted an extension, wanted way too much money. That was never going to happen. He was always a one-year option for us. He went to the Royals, so going back to Kansas City, where he was back in 2022. Had a really good second half of the season with KC. Only 25 games overall, but he was fantastic, so they're probably pretty happy with that trade overall. Always feel like I have to give up some extra pieces, but getting back a couple of arms here. Austin Cox, a starting pitcher, who spent the year in AAA Indianapolis, did very well for himself. And an interesting guy, former first-round pick, I believe here, Asa Lacy, used to be really good back in, I guess, OOTP 21, I want to say. Had yet to appear in the majors. The numbers didn't look good, but he came up for us, and he was fantastic. I think the overall is deceiving here. The stuff looks good, the movement's good, control's a little shaky, but 3+ pitches and the changeup. I was really happy with his performance overall. He was fantastic, although unfortunately could not get a win. It's not how you judge a pitcher, but you want to get a win regardless. But when you have 60 victories on the entire year, winning in general is kind of hard to do. But that was the move. Benetende retaining salary for a couple of starting pitchers. And the last move here, trading lefty specialist Tim Hill to the San Diego Padres. Did not go too well for him with the Padres, despite having a much lower BABIP, his ERA, and his WHIP and all that. Shot of actually his WHIP was lower in San Diego, but the ERA and the ERA plus was far worse. Anyway, in terms of the return on him, got back, also gave up a left fielder. Conor Scott, organizational depth overall. Got interesting player here. Corbett Vivas, I guess we'll say. Okay defensively, more bat, kind of middle infielder that has more bat in terms of the good contact, the good avoid Ks, good gap power, and he was really good down in AAA. I was going to call him up, and then he got hurt late in the year. You see here, September 12th, had a strained groin, and so he did not come back, but he'll be in the mix next year for the Pirates. All right, let's look at the stats here. Only 2 Pirates with a WRC plus above 100, above league average. Endy Rodriguez did have a really strong year. The only downside with him is nowhere I can really play him defensively. He's not a catcher. First base, he's 6 foot, not very good overall, and so he's kind of a DH for us, but had a 1.6 WAR, 19 home runs, so hopefully can hit 20 home runs next year. Brian Reynolds, a down year for him. Unfortunately, there's been kind of and hopefully this changes, but a decline in terms of WRC plus from 140 to 133 to 105 this year. Only 16 home runs after 32 last year. Still, for our standards, a good season, but not what we need, especially in a year where there wasn't much other offense to go around. From there, really not a ton to talk about. One of the most exciting things for next year in 2025 is our former first-round pick, Tatsuri Negishi. I got to work on that. He's really kind of broke out, and his potential shot up and could be an all-star. He played 39 games for us, came up in either late July, I think it was more August whenever he came up. Didn't have a tremendous year, got off to a really slow start, and then picked things up. So we'll check out his splits here. Let's see, I gotta sort this by the major league level. Yeah, came up in late July, hit just 143, and then 297 in August, 357 in just 4 games in September before getting hurt. But you see the real big jump there, and so it was a tough start, and then after that, his strikeout rate came down, his BABIP shot up, and so this is a guy that's gonna be a corner outfielder, probably in right field, maybe left, we'll see this time next year for opening day. Other than that, not a lot of players to highlight. Christian Vasquez, maybe I should have traded him. He's not going to re-sign with us, but I wanted to keep him for just kind of the leadership value. But you had a catcher that had a really good year overall and kind of wasted it on a bad season. Nick Gonzalez, not the year I was hoping he would have. He's a captain. I do like that, but hit just 224. Negative WAR player. Defensively, he's limited as well. Not sure what to do with him there. Escoto, the second baseman, strikes out a ton, does have some pop, but I just have too many low contact guys overall. Brian Hayes did not have a very good year. He was kind of slumping the whole way through. Still a 1.5 WAR player, largely thanks to that defense. Yeah, 7.5 zone rating at third this year, but the bat just did not pick it up, and the numbers are looking a little worse there overall. O'Neal Cruz doing better in real life. Despite the BABIP being higher than a year ago, the average is down, the WAR is worse, the power was down. Strikeout rate up a little bit. Just so many middling guys on this team. Michael Cione claimed off of waivers. He did well in center field for us. He did get hurt late in the year, but a little bit of positivity there. Called up Hudson Head, one interesting outfielder, but he did not do that great in just 10 starts. Seth Beer, just not going to work out. I will say Greg Allen, who was fantastic for the Diamondbacks last year, he has now been DFA'd. I guess he's still with Arizona, but he crashed back to earth, and so I don't feel as bad about that deal anymore. Otto Lopez not working well for him. It's been kind of 2 lost years for Otto Lopez. He's had some injuries. Gilbert Sanchez, we talked about him in the last video. He was just a mess, and he was somehow worse in AAA. Negative 1.2 WAR, just 27-year-old with decent defense. That is hard to do. So you get the idea overall. The defense on this team, or the offense on this team, not very good. Levon Soto also just did nothing for us in fairly limited action. Pitching staff, not a whole lot better, and a lot of the young guys we're developing are not quite there. So actually, I'll just run through it probably here instead. Young guys here, Tanji Thomas, there's potential. There'll be better days for him. His BABIP was pretty high. ERA plus was about 100, so maybe a little bit of bad luck there overall in his game, but still some work to do with him. Kumar Rocker, I've always kind of been holding out hope for him. The walks are up a ton, led the NL, maybe the Major League Baseball, probably, actually I don't know which one it is there, but led something in walks and just had some really brutal outings overall. 6 walks in this game, for example. Whip way high. Home runs over 9, felt like that's higher than it should be. It doubled from a year ago, 0.6 to 1.2. The BABIP was higher, but still in line with where it could be. I'm not sure what'll happen with Kumar Rocker, and that's obviously disappointing. Cameron Mazinski, he's now fragile, so there's the injury concern. His year was not that good overall, despite having decent, I think, peripheral type of numbers. Home run over 9, up, I guess, a little bit overall, so maybe a little unlucky there with a higher movement. Ground ball pitcher. Just can't get these guys to work, and that's someone that is more, fully developed. Lacy, like I said, had a good year for us. We'll try to call up some other younger guys and see what they can do as well. Bullpen, and that's one trade I should have mentioned. I don't know why that didn't come up. One name noticeably absent on this list is David Bedner. Traded him because we weren't winning, we needed bats, and he was going to just cost too much. And so I know the fans are not happy to see David Bednar go, but he is now a New York Met because the Mets are trading for everyone in Pittsburgh in real life. He's in AAA for some reason. I think maybe he's not hurt. I don't know why he's in AAA, but he's there. But he did pitch for the Mets for most of this year and was pretty good. I think maybe kind of had a couple of rough outings late, but he was doing really well for them early. So anyway, what we got in return for him actually was a pretty big deal. We traded another pitcher as well. Ryan Baroque is going to be a free agent after this season, so he went to the Mets because they needed a lot of pitching help and a couple of other relievers. So 4 relievers in total. In return, getting a couple of outfielders. Gavin Turley, 20 years old, really good defensively. Bat may develop a little bit. And James Wood, who's not going to be a center fielder, may play him either in a corner outfield spot or at first base. He was one of their top prospects, and so that's kind of made sense. Bedner had team control, a really good closer for a Mets team trying to make a run, and he had a pretty nice year overall in AA Altoona. Where did the Mets finish? They did make the playoffs, and so they're trying to make that push there, obviously. In terms of other bullpen arms, Phoenix Sanders, good year overall, pitched 100 innings. His appearances were off the charts, not really sure how that came about. Andrew Schultz was at throw-in in that Cole Tucker deal, and he's really developed nicely. The control is obviously a concern, will always be a concern, but the stuff is electric and making it work overall. Beckway trying to do the same, but just not quite as strong. The walks are up. The BABIP was a lot higher, though, but there's still something with him. What did we give up to get Beckway? That was the Angelton Simmons deal. He's now a member of the Boston Red Sox and had a really nice year out in Boston, so good for him there. Will Crow did a lot of relief work this year. Nick Mears came up, his first action in quite some time. He was pretty solid for us. So the bullpen seemed to be the best part of the team, but that was a pretty low bar to clear. I do want to look at our draft picks from the 2024 class, and we'll start here with our first round pick, 3rd overall, Cade Arambide, we'll say, or Arambide. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. That's usually how these things go, but a catcher with great hitting ability and really good catcher ratings. He's 18. We'll see what happens. It's a high school catcher, but kind of what Henry Davis is supposed to be in real life. In this game, he's not that good in the game, Henry Davis is, so hopefully this guy can be something and seem to do pretty good in rookie ball's first taste of professional action. His signing bonus cost was $7.5 million, which was about slot, if I'm remembering things correctly. Nolan Stevens, a first baseman, that name sounds familiar. He was part of the 2023 class and was drafted in the 2nd round, did not sign. A guy that I had my eye on back then, so happy to get him now. 19 years old, a lot of power in that bat as a first baseman. And how was his first year? Good. Limited action overall, but we will take that for sure. Brady Davis, our first pitcher taken, high school arm, so there's always going to be some uncertainty there, but I'll take 2.7 ERA for a 19-year-old pitcher. Seems pretty well developed for a guy of his age. 4th round pick here, Ariston Veazey, another catcher, but just the best player available. Good work ethic, good intelligence. That's the guy I'm going to try to bet on overall, though his first year was not good, to say the least. And then Luke Leto, a guy that probably some baseball fans will know in real life. I think he was a star in a couple versions of Out of the Park ago. He was our 5th round pick as a potential first third baseman of the future. Probably more, maybe more third than first, but we'll have to see what happens there. So that's basically the recap. I didn't want to dwell on things too much because this year was just bad and there's not a lot of other ways to say it. I think I should mention as well Michael Burrows, a pitcher, kind of prospect and potential. He's got a bad elbow, arthritic elbow, last year and this year. Barely pitched for us, and he's down to a 40, so that's, basically over there. Cardinals win the NL Central. The Cubs make it as a wild card team, the only 2 clubs above 500, so at least it wasn't like a weirdly down year in the Central, kind of like year one, where the team that won it, won 85 games, and you felt like if you had a half-decent season, you would have been in the mix. We really had no chance at all here and just never got into a groove. And so we have to fix the offense. I say that every single year. It's harder as a small market team. We do have some money to play around with, $21 million it looks like in terms of free agents. Christian Vasquez, he'll go somewhere else. Tim Hill, Benetende have been traded, and that's not a lot of decisions to be made there. Some arbitration guys, but no one with too high of a cost. We claim Sean Newcomb off of waivers. I doubt I'll even tender him. Mitch Keller, by the way, his career is basically done. He's got shoulder issues. He was not very good to begin with, and so he's had a lot of issues overall with that shoulder, so probably not looking too good. Probably will not tender Mitch Keller either. So we'll see where things stand coming out of the offseason. I know I moved so quickly through this year, but just didn't want to bore anybody with just the slow, painful death of the Pittsburgh Pirates 2024 season. So we're somehow worse than the actual Pirates, which was not our intention. So I know there's a lot of videos and channels out there, and they turn teams around so quickly, and they get back to the playoffs right away, and they're competing, and it's fun and exciting. That is not us. We are terrible. We are grinding, and I am struggling, and we'll see what happens. But hopefully you stick with us. I'll keep trying. I'll keep plugging away, and we'll come back here for opening day next year to recap the offseason, playoffs, and all that fun stuff in between. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more, and we'll talk to you soon.